Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hello, Eric. How are you? I am Dr. Kolusu. I'm here to present something of an integral yoga. See, most of the people practice yoga like it's a physical exercise, and they may not know other aspects of yoga, which is much more um, complete and whole. That means it attends not only your body but your mind and your inner being also. So people have four types of yoga, which are you do the karma yoga, that is how you do your work and all of that, and you do bhakti yoga, which is the devotional yoga, how you approach your love and your devotion to the whatever you believe, God or inner being or consciousness or Almighty God, whatever you believe, right? And then you have what's called Raja Yoga, where you kind of develop the concentration of your mind and then get your ego away from you. And the fourth one is it's called Gnana Yoga, which is a knowledge yoga. It's about knowing ourselves, knowing our place in the universe, how we are one with the universal spirit and all that, that kind of thing. The whole yoga was really for realization of inner self. That was the main purpose. But then these things evolved to take care of humans are body, and humans have this mind, humans have this ego, and you have this heart that is loving. And combining all of them into a yogic lifestyle was very beneficial for me. I don't have to really be any particular religious type, but just understand what are the principles that they are talking about that are good for our modern lifestyle. When I took it like that, I am able to eat better, I'm able to work better, I'm able to relate better with other people, and also I'm able to understand my role here on earth better. And I didn't have to have any doctrine, I didn't have to put anybody saying that you have to be Hindu or not. For people's news, I don't do Hindu rituals, Hindu pujas, and all that. I just learn yoga in a very practical way and applying them. So I never force anybody to come into that, but I'm inspired by the benefits I have more as a physician and also as a yoga practitioner. I like to convey that to my friends. That's why I come and speak on that. I kind of found a company which is called BA where I kind of combine both modern medicine and ancient wisdom, not ancient religion. The times that they have invented all these universal truths was like a more like a scientific approach rather than devotional approach, right? And then they use devotion of their own personal life. That's different. But the main thing was, how can I still my mind and then get in touch with my real spirit? That was their purpose. For that, what they wanted to have a good body, and they wanted to have a clear mind, focused mind, and then enter into this knowledge yoga, which is a whole lot of different field. Then they were able to realize themselves. Part of having this mind focus, was to make the body fit enough to be able to sit for long periods of time in meditation. That was the main purpose. So they wanted to just to sit and do that. Okay, so that kind of thing. Okay, so what happened was over the centuries, people, especially Americanization of yoga, resulted in more emphasis on physical yoga. But then that could be the first step from which you will advance. There are so many people like that who have taken the um, yoga practice at the physical level, and then they became much more focused with the mind, because if you do the physical yoga, that is the result you will have. You will have this uh, integration of the body mind, all the tensions from the mind are in your body when you do the body yoga properly and breathing and also really focus, then those tensions will fall away. That is the idea. Okay. So I want to focus on this integral yoga because people are doing only physical yoga and maybe to some extent some breathing practices, but they don't understand how to focus the mind, how to really understand our inner compulsions, inner thoughts, and all those kind. There is a great book called Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is basically about uh, mind. So in that there are 8 steps. The 8 steps: first, what to do, not to do in society. Second step is what to do personally, and then the postures come as the third step. And then fourth step is how do you control your energy through breathing. And then fifth step is how do you withdraw your senses from outward so that you can focus on the mind. You know, and the last 3 steps are for the mind: concentration and contemplation and reflection of the thought and coming to one thought. And the last step is going even beyond that thought and just staying in that samadhi where it is really still and peaceful and enjoyable. Okay, so there's a lot in that. There are 4 different yogas, and then there's different ways they do. If you just do only physical yoga, that's called hatha yoga. People worked thousands of years to develop a lot of postures and do that. All I'm saying is do them all that you want, but don't confine yourself to only the physical yoga. Look beyond it. There is so much more there. Okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you this evening. And I will welcome anybody if you have any questions that you want to come up and talk to me. That will be nice. Okay. Uh, I plan to do this talk at a more elaborate way in my inside job for wellness. I'm continuing on Monday, but today I found some time. I thought I will share this with you. Okay, there were discussions with some friends. That's why I was able to um, reform the whole thing in a understandable way for people. So, but if you have any questions, any doubts, please come up and talk to me about it. Okay. I know this is a regular hour, I promise. That's why am coming up to talk to people. But if you don't have any questions, you don't want to discuss, I will not be here for a long time because I want to have discussion rather than just me telling about. Because these subjects are uh, pretty complicated and pretty detailed too, because this is the work of thousands of years of yogis and rishis having this uh, inspired visions and shrutis, they call that, means hearings. They kind of perceived them, and then they were telling them in stories. They didn't write any particular book like that for thousands later on. People came and wrote books, and the first important book is that people know is the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. You know, it's a compilation of 196 verses, and those 96 verses are very, very profound. So he talks about internal nature, psyche, and all the mind structure, and how you deal with the parts of the mind. They mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Mano means manas. That is basically all the memory that we accumulate, right? And all the thoughts we have. Yeah? And buddhi is the intellect, and ahankara is the identification, our ego, and chitta is that component that's beyond mind and also the intellect, so that is the universal intelligence that is there with everybody, that can be cultivated and can be very useful for us. Okay, but now we are only confined to the intellect, which goes out, and also senses, which go out. But this intuitive awareness, which is the chitta awareness, that is very, very remarkable. So that's what I wanted to present here. But I would like to welcome people to come. There's a friend here. Let me invite him if he wants to come up, and we'll have a talk with that. So my friend Kyle is here. So hi, Kyle. How are you? Yeah, I can't hear you. You are a very low volume, Kyle. Yeah, I'm good, but your volume is kind of low. Maybe you have speaker issue or something. Give me some time to fix that. Yeah. Is that better? Yeah, that is much better. A little better. Okay. So, what do you think about this integral yoga? You must be having a lot of experience with it too. Well, you noticed the previous room that I had. So I'm a big fan. I think that let's say I'm going to take a different route. Synthetic or synthesis style thinking is very important, and that's what comes to my mind with integral yoga. Yeah, synthesis of four yogas, and a lot of people really don't realize that this particular aspect is there, and it is taught too. People do physical yoga without much attention to the breathing, and people do physical yoga without attention to the focus and concentration of Raj yoga. And knowledge yoga is really very few people really follow, but that is the highest of all the four yogas. When you have a yogic lifestyle, all these things blend and flow, so very easily. And that's what the taste I wanted to present to people and see what they think about that. Okay. So, see, the modern lifestyle asks us to do stuff, but the way karma yoga, that is the action yoga, is really shaped is where this modern phenomena of ego is kind of not eliminated completely, but understood and better put to use, and also really submerged or made into a more like a slave like thing. So that helps a lot to be in service and to be in doing things without really assuming an agency about it. And so you do it because it is part of your duty. And um, I used this in the beginning of the COVID. There are so many cases are coming. People are panicky that they will get it, and it's a very fearful situation for physicians too. But I presented this attitude, and then from the ancient textbooks, what it is that is dying, what it is that is staying on, that kind of perspective also gave them some kind of dispassion, and were able to be free of the fear and able to participate like they are serving something bigger than themselves. And that kind of thing is the karma yoga. You go and do it, but you don't say, I am doing it, but I use it as a medium to do this work, which is divine work, and then serving human beings is like taking care of them, is serving like the Lord or the divinity, whatever you believe in, and that help. And also, there is another thing about that is you do the work, but you don't care about the result. And then all you have to do is focus on the process. So I used to go to the hospital, take care of the patients, and follow the principles of prevention and all that, but help people on the club here too. So that was very productive period for us because it needed that, but having this kind of attitude inside helped a lot. That's about the karma yoga. How you do your work, what kind of attitude you bring it, what kind of rewards you expect, what kind of personal ego inflation happens in otherwise. Those kind of things. Does that make sense, Kyle? Kyle, maybe he's fixing his speaker. So yeah. But anyway, that is about the first
Yeah,
thing.
I'm not in a good
Yeah, that's fine.
area here for, and so, but Jordan is
Yeah,
very deep mind, and I'm sure he would be able to contribute.
yeah. And now, if they want something, they can ask me the question. But let me finish defining all the four yogas. The first one I did was the karma yoga. That's where basically you do the job for the duty's sake without the agency. And the second thing is you don't really fixate on yourself on the results. You fixate yourself on the process. And the second one is bhakti yoga, where your emotions, your love, that plays a role, right? When you do that, that role of devotion to whatever you think is bigger than yourself is the major thing, right? That happens quite often, and people really are very happy because they have a focus and they have this love in the heart. So two yogas combined together, and then they will be happy with that. So it's basically your emotions, your love to the Lord or the creation that He created, and you see the Lord in that all and the third one is Rajya, which is the main yoga thing. Like a lot of people really uh, focus on this. This is the Patanjali yoga, 8 steps. There are things you don't want to do in the society. There are things you want to do for yourself, and how you do. What are the things to do? What are the things not to do? To do or with yourself, and then that is yama niyama. The first 2 steps, right? And then third step is asana. Asana is like a postures. How do you learn the physical yoga? And then you learn the breathing. That's the pranayama. Then you learn about uh, withdrawing the senses and then making the mind ready for what you are going to do. Then you focus. First of all, you kind of concentrate all the thoughts. And the seventh step is you focus so that all the thoughts are slowed down and they come down to one thought. And going beyond that one thought is the samadhi, the eighth step. So there are 8 steps in Raja Yoga, which is for the focus and concentration, essentially making the mind still. And then once it is still, go beyond it to see what is you. How do you are reflected? You're like a clear lake that has all the superficial layers of the lake are quiet, right? That kind of thing is very good too. So that is Raj Yoga, third one. And the fourth one is uh, Gnana Yoga. So if you have a focused mind, if you have a very uh, pure mind by your karma yoga and bhakti yoga, then you have a mind that can be transcended, that is still and quiet. And then once you are like that, then you can see who you are underneath. That is the Sarupa Avasthana. That is the self that we want to get in touch with. Okay. So this is four yogas combination. Your work, how do you relate with love with other people, and how you develop the focus and stillness in your mind, and then go into the knowledge yoga where they say you are not the body and mind, but you are that inner spiritual being within that body mind complex. The body mind complex will come, grow, and then go away, but that inner light will not go away anywhere, and that is never has this birth or death, that kind of thing. So to get that knowledge, to really realize who we are, is the knowledge yoga. Okay, so that's how you appreciate all the four. And physical yoga is there. It's only one part of the entire picture of the yoga. That's all I wanted to bring to people, so that they can look a little bit deeper and they can apply if they really want to study this. And then that way they will be able to really enjoy the complete benefits of yoga. That's what is happening with me, and that's why I'm trying to tell you that. Okay. uh, so any questions, Kyle, up until then?
None whatsoever. You're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
really like how you're articulating.
Yeah. I'm only scratching them because each one, if I take it much deeper, they will go much deeper, and then we can explore much more. And especially as a physician, I'm more interested in mind and also physiology, how they did it. They described the yoga body, yoga physiology, like we have the real inner life being, and then there are five layers around it. They come from the top to the bottom, right? The first layer they talked about how our body organs and all of that. That's annamaya kosha. And then second one is our energy body, all our breathing, our energy and all that. That is pranamaya kosha. Then they talked about all the thoughts and everything that we have. That is the manomaya kosha. Most of them we are in that kosha, right? And then fourth layer is vijnanamaya kosha. That means what kind of understanding you have about life, about everything. All those conclusions they will be there. That is vijnanamaya kosha. And finally, the one that is there as a seed body, that is Anandamaya Kosha. So these five layers, they actually surround the divinity within, the life force within, the consciousness. You can do heart, whatever you give the name, that's fine. But that is our essence, our core of it. That is the one which is inward to all these layers. So you got to understand these layers, and this functionality really helped me because I kind of did not have to brand anybody, but I can understand what their development, where they want to do some work on their own. That was very well, really evident to me, and upon exploration, they also were able to see. And then you interfere whatever is disturbance, and that they responded very well for that. So that is what the physiology that helped me to take care of my patients better, and really improving their physical movement, and also keeping the mind quiet. That is the health principle I promoted, right? Move your body, keep your mind silent as much as possible. Okay, don't get engaged in too much information, too many thoughts all the time. That itself is a big task for a lot of people. But then once they understood that they need to give at least 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening to calm their mind, and also walk or move through the day. Those two principles really helped them. And also, I told them to be in the present, and also to be having a present movement breathing break 1 minute every hour. So whoever doctors or anybody working with a lot of information, they employed that principle and they benefited quite a lot because they don't have the brain fog, they don't have a lot of information overload effects, and all that they don't have because they were trying to come back to the presence once in a while, right? So that's how I used this integral yoga, even though they could not do all of them, whatever they could do. But the main principles are move the body, be in the present, and keep the mind still, and also follow your natural rhythms, diurnal rhythms. So that is something nature has given us. A lot of things happen within us by a clock, right? We kind of interfere with them by altering the clock. Either it is eating or sleeping or relaxing or keeping the mind calm when you're sleeping, and all those important. So that also helped them to understand the natural principles of that. That's the basic principle. Ancients, in education and in taking care of ourselves, they were very close to the nature. They ate organic fruits, and they walked a lot, and then they kind of kept their mind quiet by singing or by music, by so many mantras, so many kirtanas, so many things are there, right? They are all very slow and nice. They calm you down quite a bit. you know but we can make that one particular yoga and pursue that, and then eventually you kind of blend with all the other yoga. Somebody who is practicing yoga physically, they are not doing anything wrong, but they are missing out on a lot more. But then they can make their own progress, and they can do that. Why I'm bringing this is there was a discussion this morning. One of the students asked me questions about uh, what else they can do. Very surprised, but there's so much depth into the so many yogas. All the four yogas combined together is the synthesis of real yogas, and that is the integral yoga I'm talking about. So people coming and going because this is a deep subject, or people who want to sit down. That's all okay for me. Even if some people listen to this recording later on, that's all right. So anybody. I have people on the Wisdom app also. Maybe they want to come up. I welcome them. So, but it's up to them. So, is that clear what I'm talking about, Kyle? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about like the practice of asceticism or renunciation.
Yeah, yeah,
And I didn't bring it up because it goes pretty deep, and
yeah.
but that's
No,
what I just thought I'd share with you. That's what came to my
yeah,
mind.
it has a relevance to American life because the meditation that people teach here is about really working with the mind and then focusing with the breathing. They talk about mindfulness, but actually, mindfulness implies like we have to have a full of mind. It's the opposite we have to say. We have to take out the mind out of it. Then only you will be really. Another word I use is awareness. Be aware, not with a lot of thinking, but awareness. Now, other problem with the meditation adoption in this country is this is directly from Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna tells him he's a very practical man, like Americans. He wants everything practical. That's okay. And he says, "Hey Krishna, you taught me this meditation, but it is useless because these thoughts are like wind. They go all over. I cannot control them." Then Krishna agrees with Arjuna, saying, "Yeah, you're right. This travels like a wind. All the thoughts go all over like that." So, two things he prescribes. He says, always practice. That means, suppose you are choosing your breath as the center, you come back to it when you deviate from the breath and then bring it back. Thereby, you train the mind to be centered. You know, other thing is he tells vairagya, that is dispassion. Unless you develop dispassion to the worldly life, but you are purely completely involved in it, then you cannot really control the mind that much. You know, you can take one thing at a time and do it. That's what I train people. Multitasking, no, but single focus. Any time that you do, even if you do 20 seconds some job, give complete attention to it. So I have a dictum in my clinic. I told the girls also several times, pay attention to every action. So you can brainstorm for certain thing that you want to do. Then you develop a process for that. And then you say, okay, I'm going to do this task, but every time I do each task, I'm going to pay complete full attention to it. When you do that, really you enjoy the work, you are in a flow, and you will have less stress too. So, two things, practice and dispassion. Develop dispassion for trivial things. There are principles of spiritual qualities and all that. And the first quality is you got to realize what is permanent, what is temporary. Nitya, anitya, those terms are called. So once you figure it out, you will have the discretion, that is viveka. That's the first quality. Second quality is the dispassion. Once you know things are impermanent, they are not going to be here forever, then you develop a dispassion for that. Okay. And then third thing is you got to develop this focused, concentrated mind. And the fourth thing is intense curiosity about this self-realization. These four qualities. So the second one is very important, the dispassion. I think that is not there because whatever practices they want to do, not only America, all over the India and everywhere too, they want some result out of it, or like what is good for me. Even telling them body is good, heart is good, mind is good. That's also kind of giving them like a carrot, you know. But these practices have to be done for their own sake, not expecting any result. Then result will be automatic, but you are having a dispassion for that. Is that clear, Kyle?
Absolutely. I guess a dispassion in order to figure out what exactly is permanent and impermanent, and
Yeah,
then what exactly is actual love and compassion, and what is not
yeah,
love and compassion.
yeah. That kind of awareness of what is real, what is not. Actually, they come in this order. Viveka, it is a discretion, developing the see what is good, what is not good, like that. Second step is this vairagya, the dispassion. And third step is where the focusing of shat sapati, they say that. And the fourth step is this intense curiosity about knowing what is beyond my mind, beyond the thought, beyond all this social conditioning and all that, then these four qualities are there. Then you can start doing the real spiritual investigation. Most of the time, the dispassion is there because people think external success is the ultimate thing. But then once they reach that, they find there's something else. I feel void or I don't complete, and then they want to find more. That's how it happens, which is okay. But then if you say that you don't have to all these external things, then people may be mad because they feel like something is taken away from them. You cannot have what it called vishyaloka. That means outward things and also inward riches. You got to be simple outward things, and then you can reach the inner treasures with simple living and high thinking. Actually, this is something I was having a discussion with one of my friends on wisdom, where I pointed out the lifestyle that we promoted as a humanity all over the world of this rampant consumerism is causing damage to our earth. You know, but everybody wants to use plastic. Everybody wants to pollute everything without them knowing, and don't have to really act because with awareness that is leading to this present global climate crisis and all that. So there are so many ways you can explain that. We are all contributors to that, including me. So it's not that we are not consumers, we are rampant consumers. We promoted that as though that's a lifestyle. Unfortunately, what happens in America, rest of the world follows. Okay, so that's why it's very important that somebody Kentucky, they have these terrible floods, which my heart goes out to. They get more traction around the world because of the media and all of that. But something happens terrible in Sudan, nobody really bothers that much. That is the power of American thing. That's why we got to understand these principles and start practicing it here. And there are so many people are doing. I know the number is 12 or 13 million people are BKS Iyengar's students, and they do very sincerely, and they want to learn all these things. I'm presenting here for my friends who are not maybe familiar with this integral yoga, uh, you know, uh, premise, and I just want to introduce that to them. Or if they're already in it deep, I want to have an exchange of ideas and the practice and the results and all. That's why I'm doing this.
I think it always comes back to the breath,
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, and it's very important. Um,
yeah. In
Even the
so,
sensation of the breath, like right on the upper lip, just below the nose, just being able to sense the exit of the breath, the inhale of the breath, all of that. I just
yeah,
it's good to integrate,
yeah.
and it's good to utilize all types. But then one thing that just came to my mind is that it all comes back down to the
Absolutely,
breath.
absolutely. Because breath is something very central to everything, and actually, through the breath, the life force comes into you. Without that, you don't have life, right? And breath is connected to the mind. So if you slow down that breath, your thought process also slows down. Not that you become dumb or anything, but your thought will be more centered and more slowing down so that you can really see the thoughts, and you can slow them down to the extent where you can see they are negative or positive and correct the negativity with positivity. And also you can really choose what you how you want to think also once they slow down. If there's a one thought to deal with, that's much easier than so many thoughts. And the breath itself uh, carries out a lot of toxins out. So you can use each breath. If you are that slow, you can ask, I'm going to blow away all the negativity in me, but I'm going to breathe in positive. That's one way. There is a granny breathing exercise that I do. What it is when you take the deep breath, you ask the question, who am I? Once it is there, you are holding it. When you are holding it, you are holding the life force which permeates life all around the world, right? All life permeates there. So you are connected with that. Then you say, that is what I am, right? And when you breathe out, I'm not this just body and mind complex. That's a mantra called Deham Naham Koham Soham. Deham means body and mind, both are body. Okay, the physical body and then physical brain and the physical mind. That is all. What is the difference between modern science and ancient art? They can talk about uh, this. Um, Mind also as a body, as a tool of you. Okay, so once you understand that I'm not these things, then who am I? That koha means who am I? Then soham. Soham has two words in there, aham and sa. Aham means me, sa means universal intelligence. So I am from that. So I am that. That is the where it came from. I am that. Hamsa, the ahamsa, both of them. So when you take a deep breath, say, who am I? Koham. Then when you hold the breath, you say, soham. When you breathe out, deham, naham. That's the way it is. So is that clear, Kyle? What I said?
Absolutely. Made me think of the burning bush to Moses. I
Hmm.
am that I am.
Yeah, I am that I
Was
am.
the response.
Yeah. Actually, the people like great sages, they said the Christians said much better than what the ancient Indians said. The Indians said, I am that. But then Christ said, I am that I am. That I am. That's very important too. Sanya, you have any question or comment?
Sorry, Doctor.
Yeah.
um, I was just listening in, of course, with like I don't think people realize yoga is actually uh, technology for well-being, right? If
Yeah.
we think of it that way, then the application of that is to better our lives, right?
No,
So,
I don't want to
and
call
that
it technology because technology involves objects outside, right? But this is about inner experience, you know.
yeah,
So
it is technology in the inner
yeah,
well-being, right?
I prefer
So,
not to call the technology. I will say inner experience,
mm,
because we want to be away from the objects because we want to really identify with that subjective experiential thing, then the better to can we separate that object and the subject. That's very important. You know?
mhm,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
That being the case, I in terms of understanding and
Yeah, yeah. I know you, the spirit
the
of what you said, that is true, because I just want to say that subjective experience. There is a great story that they tell about this. There are 10 people that are not really bright. They were going and they were crossing a river. and they cross the river. After they cross the river, they count all of them, and then one person counts all of them. He finds nine of them outside, but he doesn't count himself. And then he says one person is missing. Then other person comes. He also counts all the nine. He says, "Oh yeah, nine people only." So they all sit down and they'll be weeping. One of our friends died. Then a sage comes around and says, "So what is happening? Why you guys crying?" Then they say, "We are 10. We came, we crossed the river, and only we find nine. We can't find the other." Then he makes them count all of them, and then turns the finger to him and says, "Say 10 subject." That's what it happens. What happens is we are always with the objects outside, but we are not really identifying our inner subjective experiential thing, and that is the really us. So that's why you have to have some criteria to divide this. Is there first thing is like this: is it object or subject? Is it sentient or non-sentient? That means it has the life in it or not. It has the awareness in it or not. And the other thing is, can you really feel it with intuition, and or describe it with only words and intellect? You know. So there are some criteria to identify with that. But this is the difficulty. People have the senses go out. People have the intellect go out, but to feel your inner self, Sanya, you got to have the subjective experiential thing. Then you can see really that is what I am. Make sense? Okay.
I use it for more of, we are using language, right? And so, for that part, the inner, we use technology because it is also a tool. And I understand where you're coming from on the intuition part and all of those things, but to like we're communicating to us here as a physical being,
Yeah.
right? So we have to use the language that is going to be understood by people.
But this
And
is
so this is the,
yeah,
you know,
this is very subtle. Okay, so what your language use also tells you what you are indicating. If you use the terms like "it's my tool," subjective self is not your tool. That is you. You have the tools of the mind and the body. So you are still stuck in the objectiveness, but not in the subjective self, which is not the tool. You are that. You are the owner. Other things are the tools. That's why. Anyway, it will seep in slowly because you have to learn to look inward with intuition, awareness. That doesn't come if your mind takes over and is the dominant one.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the English language is linguistics, because what happened is in the United States, there's many ways to use different words depending on context. And so I just want to kind of support Sanya, because Sadhguru and his staff in the United States, they like to use the word inner engineering for his yoga, and they use the word technology. It's just a term that we're using now because of marketing, of making the public, they like the word technology in the United States. So I think that's the angle Sonia was coming from, and whereas you coming from your perspective, so there's like two different perspectives. It's just a matter of language and context.
Yeah, the question is not about perspectives. The question is, are you landing in real self, or your terms are leading you outward? That's all. If you grasp that I'm subject to self and I have to work inside, inner engineering, what technology, those are all introduced by Sadhguru just to make it available to the people. But I'm talking about here much deeper sense of intuitive awareness that has no role without. You have to just feel it, and then feel it, and then you don't have to become anything, know anything, just be. To be that, don't have to use anything at all. You, are you in the D or you are caught up in your own words? That is the question. It's a subjective, intuitive awareness feeling. Anyway, that we don't have to argue about that. Any other questions anybody has?
Well, actually, so what was brought up, actually, so I was bringing up asceticism and renunciation
Yeah.
as a practice, and part of that, to my knowledge, is to basically a lot of what is in English is reification. It's noun heavy.
Mm.
It'll make a mind think that a process is a thing or a phenomena will be described as a noun as opposed to a process. And Sanskrit and other ancient literature was very verb based.
No, no.
But also part of the practice was to utilize verb a little bit more than noun. Is that correct?
No, Kyle, I'm going to point out something to you. Understanding something through the language, that is different. But realizing something subjective, that's a whole different thing. It doesn't have to do anything with the language. It has to do with
Oh
your
yeah, no,
experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
I sorry, I didn't mean to blend the two together.
Yeah.
I was just kind of elaborating on just what the other two said about
Yeah.
language and what came to my mind. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And carry on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only thing is, lot of people, when they listen to these things, they want to make a concept out of it. That's not the idea.
Yeah, sorry.
Exactly pointing out, feel it, intuitively be aware of it, here and now. There's no like a going beyond that, and then they have taken a leap into that realization. So somebody has this story for me. All these young ascetics were getting trained. So they first day they came and they were told, "You go repeat that I am that is a Mahavakya. That's like a saying like I am that I am like, right." And they came to the guru and asked him how many times we had to repeat it, and he said, "It is not for repetition; it is for realization." See, that's the same thing. It's not, see, our mind tries to understand, that's fine. But eventually, beyond the language, beyond the description, beyond the imagination, can you feel the self within you? That's a leap, real big leap. Okay. But that is knowledge yoga. So let me see somebody uh, in the wisdom wants to come up. Let me talk to him for a second. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Rao.
How are you?
I mean, I've seen you. Hi, I'm the Guru Warrior.
Yeah. Very nice name. Huh? Yeah.
Thank you. You know, let me explain myself because I have a lot of East and West Indian people following me. I'm West Indian.
Yeah.
I had a friend who had lupus, and she said, "Oh my goodness, you've had it for so long. You're so smart.
Mm.
You should call yourself the guru of
Mm.
lupus,
Mm.
but you're a warrior."
Yeah.
Then she passed away.
Oh. Okay.
It was very heartbreaking because, it was around the time
Mm.
where they declared war against patients as well as, people who took narcotics.
Ah.
But the patients were the ones who suffered the most
Mm.
because their doctors were going to jail.
Ah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, is right. My goodness. I mean, they tried to lock up my 80-year-old doctor, and I'm like,
Ah.
come on. The guy follows all the rules. So,
Yeah.
that's not fair.
Mm.
So I've seen you in my room a couple of times.
Mm.
Uh, lupus and
Mm.
all kinds of beautiful autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
40 some odd years.
Boy.
So I'm close to your age.
Uh,
I don't understand. Why don't you come on my stage and talk all this beautiful talk that you talk
I do come
when
to
you're on
people,
stage?
but I don't know whether I'm following you or not. I will follow you and then we will see. Okay. Uh, People come
No,
here to
you're
listen to me.
following.
Yeah, listen to me, and then I invite them to come up, and then
Yes,
somehow they're shy. That's okay. I talk and go usually. So,
yes,
mm.
yeah, yeah. So what do you think about lupus? I mean, you're a doctor of what?
Yeah, I'm an internal medicine doctor. The lupus is also autoimmune disease and our immunity goes up. Anyway, we are talking here integral yoga that
Yes,
also combines and helps these autoimmune diseases as a whole
good.
because there is a branch called psychoneuroimmunology and that is very well kind of explain lot of yogic principles too. That's what I want to bring it here. You know, so
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I looked into that.
Mm.
I did because my mother had lupus of the brain,
Mm.
and they thought that she had multiple personalities, which she did.
Mm.
But the reason why it affected her so hard
Yeah.
was because
Um,
of the lupus.
Okay. Yeah.
But
to
you can't.
me, it seems that
Oh,
Yeah.
I
when we
yeah.
feel
Okay,
love
Guru
and
Warrior, I'm going
kindness
to talk to the
towards
other people on the other club
a
too, you know.
person for
So
relationship,
I will see you in your room more
uh,
often,
You.
okay?
Oh, I
in
hear
the
that. I didn't.
beginning
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have a great one. Take it
real
easy.
love
Thank you.
and innocent, but if it's rejected and we are pushing, then it becomes like an ego movement, a thought movement. I don't know how to solve this issue.
Can you repeat the question, Nati? I didn't get the whole of it. I got the tail end of it. You know. Is that about ego? Or, Nati, can you repeat the question?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. If we feel love, loving kindness,
Yeah.
romantic love
Mm.
for a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning phase, it seems divine.
Yeah.
But if we are rejected
Yeah.
and we pursue it
Mm.
further, it seems ego and thought movement.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this happens. Like it becomes
Yeah.
contaminated if we pursue after rejection. Is it correct?
Two things I will tell you about the love. One thing is love is when you have the total absences of you. That is the ego. Okay. That is unconditional love. But you are expecting anything in return, then that is the egoic love, and that will be there in romantic love and all that. But you will eventually grow up into that. A mother has unconditional love, like that. Lovers also want something out of it. They will do it for a while, and then they may move on to the unconditional love, where there is absence of the me, which is the ego. So if you are in love with somebody and you want them return something, then that is not completely love. You want a transaction and then you're labeling it as a love. But then people grow up from that to unconditional love. There's nothing wrong with that. But then understanding what is the heart, where is the mind forming the ego, is to really understand we are born with a spiritual heart, and out of that mind comes out. You see the young infants and kids of 1 year age, they have this direct perception into you, and when we see them we love them because the beginning mind is there. But then they also develop a small ego because we teach them that, you know. Unfortunate thing is we don't allow the ego to function at the physical level and the practical level. We identify that is us. We forget about who we really are, which is the center of being, is the heart. You know, so coming back and establishing the mind in the heart is the spiritual journey. And that's why all the people who are really enlightened, they don't assess you, they don't classify you, they don't analyze you. They look at your being straight. That way, they drop all the filters that the mind has. That's why they don't have a no mind or beginner's mind, or you can call it no ego there. And that's why they're so loving when they go and see him. You don't have to even talk. They don't really talk to you. The way they look at itself is like through your being. That means no filters at all. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, the subjective being, once you start to see it within yourself and realize yourself, then you start to see it in everybody else. Not only everybody, but also all the living beings. You know, there is a poem in one of the great books of India. In that book, one verse says, the incarnate God it is to the warrior. He says, "I am the life force that is present in all living beings. I am the beginning, middle, and end of it." That life force is the being that we want to really get in touch with, associate with. Then everybody else is the same energy and one divinity. So realize the divinity within you and also be the oneness with the divinity with everybody else has. Then you are in one energy. That is what the purpose of understanding Gnana Yoga, which is really knowledge. You are ignorant that we have this person, and we kind of really identify with our uh, mind made things, and then we lose our real self, and then we have all sorts of turmoil within us. But once we come back to that, then life looks beautiful. you know. Any other questions about any integral yoga aspects of it? I think Nadi's question was a very beautiful question. So, is it Nazil, or am I saying correctly? Is it
Nasli.
Nazli? Okay.
And what is the cure for wanting to prove ourselves all the time?
Yeah,
Feel like I have to do this so that I am happy with myself and I
yeah.
prove myself to the other person.
See, one way to define ego is false image of about ourselves. That is the one that's operating at that level. And then you really have to move away from that, where you say, I'm not separate from everybody, I'm in the same energy. Then ego becomes your slave, so it doesn't push you. What you have to do with other people will be very evident for you, and you will be doing that. This personality, this ego that we in all cultures, they make it like a, that is you. That is a problem. But if you can really see who you are, lot of problems will be solved. Then things will be evident to you. You will pursue what you want to do, and you are established in that being and the self of what you are. And you realize that being is only one that is present in everybody, and you don't have any division. Then you don't say, I have to better than other person, because we are all in one energy. Say, remember that saying, your neighbor is your brother, so you treat him like you are treating yourself, because he is yourself. That's the one. Then you won't have this egoic separation of, I am separate and he is separate, and all those things will not come. So divisions happen when we move away from the source. But if you go towards the source, then you will see the unification at that level, right? And so anyway, everybody agrees with that, or you have any other concepts? This is not concept.
Just the point that the point that you said, everything is one.
Yeah,
There I've had like a little thought that isn't it an ideology?
yeah. You could take it like an ideology if you are in the mind. but you moved away from the mind, you're having this intuitive awareness of yourself, then you are not taking an ideology. You are actually looking at the reality. That is what you need to realize. It's already there. You don't have to go aspire for something. What is blocking us? Our mind concepts. But this is not a concept. You are life, right? And you have to realize that, But you make a concept about it, then the mind has come in. That's the problem. When we raise the mind to the level where we identify that false image, actually it came persona. Persona is where I think Italian people used to wear a mask to say good dialogues to them, and that's where the personality came. The personality is not us, it's something we developed for practical use. Like an actor doesn't identify with the role that he's playing, he remembers who he is in real life, but he will play the role maybe too intensely sometimes, but still he knows underneath that I am having this. That's why I am that I am is a very good thing to remember all the time.
It's easier to perceive that we are many instead of we are all one.
Yeah, we appear like that. They say the consciousness is one, ekam sat, they say. But then we manifest as body mind complexes that are nama rupa. That means name and shape. They are different, but that energy, that inward self or consciousness, conscious being, that's all one energy. And even physics is talking about that now. Unified field of unified field of theory, where all energy is one and we are all in one energy. It's very difficult to have an intellectual understanding and then really feel it. It takes some time to really go into. There are so many practices for that. So I just want to present
Yes,
you.
also,
Yeah.
also the consciousness
Mm.
could be an emergent from the activities of the brain instead of like being
Yeah.
a space that contains the
That is
world.
the big argument between the scientists and also the uh, ancient people. Ancient people believed and they realized that consciousness is the fundamental substratum of the existence, and body mind complexes including ego, they are manifestations on that. Okay, the substratum never changes, only the mind and all these things, even the brain thought are also objects for them. Whereas modern science now, undertaking a lot of studies on consciousness, they are saying what is the hard problem of consciousness now is how can matter have this spark of life by itself, you know? So that is the hard problem they are not able to solve. They can go down the matter. The more you divide, the more you will find like stocks and all that, right? Once you go to the bottom of the neuroscience, this all matter. Where is that matter getting the spark of life? That is, as a physician also, I can work to maintain a life, but if a life is gone, I cannot bring it back. You see, so we are very humble about that. We know about that. That's where the people who are dualistic, that they believe God is there, He gives you life, but then this what is called non-dualism. That's the highest philosophy in Indian uh, culture that they developed. They have looked at a much deeper sense. When you apply your mind and thought, which are limited, you cannot really identify something that's not measurable with the measurements that we have. That is where you kind of have to investigate into the consciousness by going deeper behind the mind and thought and brain. There are all superficial things, but the deep in the lake is your real thing is there. So if you have tranquil lake and doesn't have any movement and that is pure, then you can see through it like that. All the activities that we are displaying now are the result of our thought patterns or concepts and all at the level of the intellect and at the level of our mind also is questioned whether entity of mind is there. That's all gnana yoga, okay, the knowledge yoga. So when you really look at it, There is no entity like a mind. There are only a bunch of thoughts happening all the time, all the feelings, all the emotions, those things. So there's a big debate going on right now between the ancients and the people who really understand that and then live like that, and the scientists are on the consciousness. It used to be 20 years ago, it's all consciousness in the brain, you know, but now they have reversed the position that now, but they have to show how does that happen, you know. So Chinese and Indians, they both talked about consciousness being the primary substratum. Out of that, manifestation happens, our bodies and minds. So don't try to make concepts, don't try to understand with the intellect, but go beyond. That's the answer. I know it's a complicated answer, but
Right now, life is very tragic to me. Life is very tragic to me at the moment.
no, it's a beautiful. Actually, they have a saying like "Achyadika dukkha nivrutti, paramananda prapti." What does it mean is, once you realize that even the highest forms of suffering will go away, because what is happening at the mind level will be dissolved. And not only that, you have this Paramananda Prapti. That means extreme bliss is possible. That's why you can see fantastic smiles on these yogis who went into their own minds, you know. Whereas we kind of have even small thing also goes out of whack in our life. We feel like we lost so much, we are sad and all, but they don't have anything, but they have this wonderful smile on them, because that is one thing I discovered too, because the way these deeper meditations make you feel and come out really tranquil, serene, peaceful and happy and joyous and lightness of being. If people taste that, then what Kyle asked me about dispassion for outward pleasures or accomplishments and all those things fall away. At least that was the experience of mine. So all the external things do not matter. Making money, all those things that we value so much, they do not matter as much, because you find the inner riches. That's the key. Whatever you cannot get it by just by using your thought and intellect, but you got to go beyond that. So there is something beyond the thought. That's a big deal that moderns don't agree, but that is there with the scientists and people who really come up with creative ideas. At the moment, they just get a spark of idea, and not because they have sit down and then worked it out. But so many people talk. That is called chitta in yogic language. That is the far superior intelligence that is connected to the intelligence of the universe. That is there. We have access. Only thing is, you become a conduit to that when your superficial mind calms down. So we want to understand something unmeasurable with our measurements that we have. That is the mistake we make.
Dr. Quickly, Mandoji, um, sorry, just quickly, just because it's touching on this specific topic, there was a room today in It's What About Time, or It's About Time. It's a club. David Chalmers was on, and some other very profound people were on. So if you want to listen to what the scientists are thinking about the hard problem of consciousness as it relates to what Dr. Rao just said, the first two replays on my profile. Um, I think it's the second one down. It's about time. David Chalmers is in that room discussing.
Oh, David, I know David. Oh, I should listen to that. Okay. Yeah. Very nice.
Doctor, I wanted to understand from your perspective. What do you have? What do you think about Kundalini yoga? How hard is it even to start on it and then achieve, even if it's partial? What are you? Maybe we'd
Yeah.
love to know your thoughts.
You see, to attain the ultimate, you don't want to get caught in the middle manifestations of energy reflections. And Kundalini yoga is like kind of waking up the energy that is available in everybody. But then that energy, you don't want to get caught up because you won't progress further. So it's a difficult one. It's a very, very difficult one. But I think people are greedy about the things that they will get, something like a supernatural power now. There are what are called siddhis. When you do yoga, these powers come up. But then I was advised from the beginning by J. Krishnamurti and Ramana, stay away from them. Okay, they are nothing compared to what you will have to go through and achieve the enlightenment. But in general, three things I would recommend to really harmonize your energies. Uh, First of all, unselfish activity. Second thing is intense physical exercise every day. And third thing is expose yourself to new knowledge on a daily basis, something completely new. Okay, then that energy will come up. But then when it comes up, if you don't abuse it, it will be useful for you and everybody else. But you will be beyond that. You won't succumb to it in the sense you feel like I'm powerful, so I'm going to manipulate everybody around. So that is not the main idea. It's not ethical also. But that's what a lot of people do. They get a little powers and then they want to market it. They want to, really exploit it and then use other people to have their simple desires. If you are really looking for the real realization, all these desires will fall away too. That is the vairagya, dispassion I talked about.
So exercise, how important is the when you say extreme exercise? Can you help us
No,
correct
daily
what?
exercise in the sense, what happens is you have a good body that has intelligence on its own, and we kind of spoil it by our way of living or comfort creatures and all those things. Body generally wants comfort, but if you give too much comfort, then you're going to take away the intelligence of the body, because there are energies they describe it as laziness, and that's where tamas accumulates. That is needed when you are sleeping and all that. But if you do the tamas energy during the day when you are beginning the work, you are contracting. There is a body clock, and that's the intelligence of the body that happens. You don't want to interfere with the body clock by artificial things. That's what happened with the modern life. People spend a lot of night time, lot of against their body clock, and then night duties and all those things, right? They are not good. And also this blue light from the phones and all these devices input, so many things are there that will keep on activating your mental activity, which is not good for a good rest, right? So you'd want to do exercise moderately and then optimize it. By the way, I'm doing this inside job for wellness. I have done so far introduction and the food. And Monday, 11 o'clock Central Time here, that will be 9:30 p.m. India time. You will see me talking about the next pillar, which is the activity. We will talk about exercise optimization in that. So basically, rest properly. When you rest up, then get up and then move as much as possible. And then from there, you can increase the exercise quite a bit. But yoga asanas that are prescribed for the Kundalini yoga are pretty tough, because you don't want any of the negative energies or this tamas or rajasic energy. That means restlessness or laziness. Both of them you have to overcome that. Okay, I think 8:30 almost, So, uh, anything else, or we will close the room? I was planning on one
I
hour.
have a
You are in matrix, Mando. I can't hear you.
so, there is a my perfection is I
No, I can't hear you.
when
You
I
are
do
in the
yoga I
matrix.
always
You are in matrix. I can't hear you. Maybe change the earbuds or something, or
one minute. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you hear me now, Dr. Raj?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh. So I have this problem of perfectionism when I used to do
Yeah,
spiritual meditation.
yeah,
I always felt that maybe something will make it imperfect, and that used to bog me, and
yeah,
that used to have obsessive thinking because I felt like maybe this is causing me to be imperfect.
yeah.
Um, what do you feel on that? Yeah.
The perfectionism is from the mind. So you got to go deeper than that. So what you do is you don't want to be identified with that and observe it. So what I teach in the morning session of my wellness club, uh, so I teach them not meditation, but how to watch the thoughts that you are having, right? And of course, through the entire hour, I teach them how to be here and now, how to be in awareness with the deep breathing also. But when it comes to the climax, what I make them do is assume the Dhyana Mudra, Shambhavi Mudra, and all that. But then really close their eyes, take deep breaths, and keep it as a center, come back to it. If thoughts come, watch them. Be that witness consciousness. In Sanskrit, they call it Sakshi Bhuta. You be then you will be watching apart from the thoughts you are having. Let them come because they can be subconscious arising, and they come more often. As they come up, you let them come up and let them go. But if you indulge with them, they get strengthened. This is where the neuroplasticity is. The more you think about something, you can create a neural path of the same. So what we use is we kind of allow the things that we want to really strengthen, whereas we kind of eliminate those things just to watch them as though a cloud coming up and traversing through the sky and going away. Don't indulge in the thought and don't repress it. So that kind of watching really from the distance really frees you from that perfection thing. Okay.
Exactly. And I love how you brought in neuroplasticity there.
Yeah.
I think that is very, very important as we grow
Mhm.
and develop. And so one of the things that I was thinking about is ontology.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for another room.
Yeah, I know. That's a big
It
subject.
relates to
Yeah.
someone's
Yeah.
sorry, it relates to someone's ontology that was speaking with me recently,
Yeah.
and we were talking about intuition, and
Yeah.
they really wanted to parse intuition into different gradients of intuition.
That's
And
not
I was
intuition.
wondering, does this
That's not
pardon?
intuition. You cannot classify it. It is a quality energy, like you will see, and then you will really feel it. And beauty about this is, Kyle, it's just being or just be yourself rather than knowing or becoming anything. That gradients are saying that there's a becoming involved in knowing all that. It's not that. It is more like just be yourself. This I talk about a lot of times because just to be yourself, you don't have to do gain anything because you're already that. Okay. Once you realize that, once you are in there, it's like this. You are under the tree because of the shade and you feel good. But then you stepped out just to go into the sun and then you feel really burned out and come back to the tree. So, like that, we are that uh, deeper self, deeper conscious being, and we don't stay there. We don't ever touch it. We have all sorts of theories, concepts, everything. But just stop everything, keep quiet, and be. They say, be still and know your God. That's the same thing. Here in yoga, be still means really get rid of your egoic personality type, that is thought construct. These gradients and all those also thought construct. So they never touch the real being when they are measuring like that. That is not measurable to our instruments. You got to realize that. That's why people come all the way to 7 stages of the yoga I told about, but they cannot take the leap because there is no particular way to go to samadhi. So you got to be seizing what you are as a egoic being, and then they say You have to destroy yourself. Meaning what? You have to destroy your ego to be what you really are.
Beautiful. Okay, good. Because I was worried that I missed something along
No.
development. I was like, I don't know if they're ingredients, and then you can
Yeah.
parse it out like that. So I really appreciate the response.
You see,
I was like,
this is a challenge for me, Kyle, because I was brought up as a modern physician, right? I was studying everything externally, and that so as though body is more like a just organs and chemicals and all that. But there is a component from the psyche that happens too. Then I took interest in psychoneuroimmunology, and then I went into the yoga physiology and all that. These things much made much sense to me because the yogis I saw, they were into 80s and 90s, and they were very fit physically and mentally alert, and they have sharp memories, and they did not really imagine too much. They were with everything as is. They said, what is sacred, right? That kind of thing. They were always in the present, and that is a beautiful way to be here. Instead of being in our heads, in our thoughts, in our memories, in our imaginations, they are in touch with the life as it is presented to them, right? So then you really understand, okay, life means what is happening with me right now, you know. So not thinking about that habit really helped me with my patient care. I go to a patient, my complete attention to that patient, you know. Then I go to the next patient. This patient is finished. I may take it up later to follow up on that. But then I just switch to the present mode with the next patient. That's it. That became very simple for me. And I'm giving complete full attention to, like I'm giving full attention to you guys here. That's it. Whatever we are doing, just be present because that is really live life. What happened already dead. What's going to come is not here, not born yet. What is happening here is the life.
Doctor, one of the important points you said was destroying your ego, which
Yeah.
is basically changing yourself or changing your mind, which is extremely
Yeah.
challenging job. Even if you try,
Yeah.
tried multiple times, like after a month or two,
Yeah.
some of the way other will only revert back.
Yeah. And that's very
You
true.
talk to the
That's
doctor.
very true. That's why it requires deep study, deep understanding, and also really being in the self all the time. That is the difficulty because we are in our thoughts and emotions and feelings. But the more you can come out of it, this being in the present helps a lot for that. Okay. Just ask yourself two questions. Is that here happening? Is this what is happening in my life right now? Or am I bringing the memory or my imagination or something like that? Okay. Then you will be able to stop the movement. It's called chalana. They want achala. Achala means really not moving at all. So you stay there. And the second thing is, remember this saying that I do myself is attention has to be poised always on the inner self. That is a big self, not the S self. Small self is the ego. The inner self is that life energy that is there in all of us. You got to be attentive to that. This is from Ramana Maharshi. I put it on my iPad. I saw it so many times, but it has become natural for me. Then I immediately go in. And then I told you about the Gnani breathing. I introduced you, and that also helps a lot. Nisargadatta Maharaj is another person who is enlightened. He was told by his teacher to say, I am that uh, undifferentiated consciousness. That's the only thing his teacher told him to do. And he kept on repeating, kept on staying there. And whatever mind activity comes, he kind of got back to that awareness of that inner self. And then he was really enlightened with that.
Like ego usually uses fear as a mechanism to
Yeah.
defend itself.
All those are ego activities, the fears, the concerns, and all. You don't have to really say, I'm going to abolish this ego right now. That is not. Sometimes it takes lifetimes to really understand and go it. All you do is study. There is a three-step formula in Advaita Vedanta. It's called Shravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasana. That means what? Shravanam, listen first. Listen completely with open mind. Don't have to say this is right, this is wrong. First listen. Don't listen like a it will wash off out of. After you listen, then observe that what they said and manana. That means contemplate, question it, doubt it, don't agree with it. Really, but people don't stay with one thing. They go to something else. They go to some other person. What is important is your inner inquiry, right? After you listen and you examine for yourself and you are convinced the truth, then the third step comes where you say, I'm going to allow this in my life. Is it happening? Like, for example, I say, be in the present. For me, it's like I'm always in the present. As simple as that. Even if the thought goes, some memories, because my sister called or anybody like that, but I bring it back. Is it happening now with me? No. It has happened. No. Did I learn something about it? Yeah. But beyond that, do I have to really remember and make it more consolidated in my memory and come back as a life? No. So that kind of Sramanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Those are the steps you got to do when you are going for a spiritual inquiry within yourself. Another common thing I'm seeing in the social media is they don't emphasize their personal practice. They kind of emphasize about uh, their own hearing somebody, telling somebody. There's no serious self inquiry. That's the important thing. That means you got to investigate this with seriousness and with some intensity too. So a lot of people want to pick it up. You want to get kundalini just like that. It doesn't happen like that. Actually, you can get hurt too if you experiment with these things.
Like the ultimate fear is fear of death. Let's assume somebody has diabetes or something.
Yeah.
Like I have seen that interfering in their spiritual journey. So
Yeah.
will the same logic apply
Yeah.
present?
Yeah. Because
It can also accelerate the journey.
no, what happens with it is you understand death as a myth and death not as a uh, end, but like a beginning of something else. And also, every day you sleep at the night, you're kind of dying in a way and then wake up in the morning. So, one thing for sure is explore this and find out who you are, then that one is like a najayate riyateva. That means what? It that essential self doesn't have birth or doesn't have death. Once you absorb that, once you understand it, the body is going to end because it's born. Mind is also going to end, but the subtle body, the mind may carry some samskaras into the next life. But then, once you understand that, you don't have fear of the death. See, there are kleshas, right? In the kleshas, avidya, agnana, that means lack of knowledge. Second is asmita. Because of a lack of knowledge, you identify with the wrong self of yours, the ego, as you. Okay, and that ego has raga dvesha, likings and unlikings, attractions and aversions, right? And then avinasha, that is where fear of death. All these things are overcome with realization of who you are.
Exactly, and that's kind of why I said it could be accelerated because it's
Yeah.
like people who haven't grieved before somewhat
Yeah.
avoid contemplating about death.
By the way, this helped me to help my patients who are grieving, especially COVID second wave came. A lot of people in India died, right? Even though I'm here, I was reaching out some other people just to help them. And when I presented this viewpoint that was there in the culture, they didn't realize that was there. And that gave them some solace. Eventually, people go through grief reaction where actual damage happens to the brain because how they take it, right? So chemical change and all that, and also people go on living that sadness forever too. But once they understand this, they have some kind of dispassion about that. You cannot expect them to not to have any feeling at all because they are brought up like that, right? But this kind of understanding, even if they grasp a little bit of it, that provided them that thing. Another practical way I gave to us, there's a short book, short movie made by Leo Buscaglia. It's called Freddy the Leaf. In that movie, what they show is this leaf takes bird, and it's a small leaf, and it's looking around, enjoying the sun and all that. Then it sees the next leaf is kind of a little bit older than him, and then it began to talk to him, and then they're having good friendly discussion. Then he sees a really ripe leaf from top detached from the tree and falling down. Then he goes, "What is that? What is happening to you? Why is he falling down?" Then this guy says, "Everybody like you in the beginning, like me later on, and then that ripe one, then he will fall off." And then this guy, "Oh my God, we are going to die, all of them." Yeah, all of us going to die. But then the ultimate thing is that you will tell him the leaf goes into the ground and gives rise to the next life. So there is a continuity. That way, death is a myth, is a transition. Once you get it, then the fear of death goes down quite a bit. This is all Gnana Yoga. To do that, requirements are first to have a clear mind, purified mind. Purified mind by what? By doing karma yoga, by doing unselfish activity, and doing like a service to everybody, right? And then you can have reverence and complete surrender to the force that has created all this or that is behind all this, and that is bhakti yoga. People can have different deities and all that's all their personal preference. I personally don't follow any particular religious thing because spirituality is beyond the religion. Religions can help to realize things, but I don't want to separate anybody by identifying with one particular religion. Okay? All is the same. Excuse me. And then once it is karma yoga purifies your mind, and bhakti yoga also does that. And then Raja yoga focuses it. A purified, focused mind can realize who it is, what is behind it much better. So we don't purify the mind. We pursue all sort of activities thinking that we are the ego and personality. And that's why we have the difficulty. That's why you do the karma yoga, you do the asanas and all that, get that mental tensions out, make the mind as pure, as focused as possible by doing bhakti yoga and raja yoga. And then you sit down in meditation and listen to the truths that are conveyed to you either by your experience or with other people. Then examine them, and then if you find them the truth, go and implement them, allow them to happen in your life. It's a big subject. It's not that easy, about this. So don't be in a hurry. I'm just presenting integral yoga. Doesn't mean all answers will be in this couple of hours. It's a big topic.
What does the word integral yoga mean in English?
Integral yoga. So I talked about this in the beginning. The integral means it's not just doing the physical yoga. It's like bringing in energy, bringing in knowledge, bringing in love, all of them, and then in a daily life, they all reflect in your daily life. That is integral yoga.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah. All right. I think I wanted to do 1 hour, but I think beyond that, people are calling me for dinner. Thank you for all for joining me, and I will. Okay, Carl, you want to continue? You can continue, but I have to leave. And remember, 11 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be doing three different pillars of wellness. So where we are going to present what is the exercise, how much optimization you have to do, what are the things that we need to consider. All that will be presented on Monday. And then I'm going to talk about sleep and rest on Tuesday, and meditation as the last day on Wednesday. Okay? Different way to approach it, but This is something came up this morning. They were asking me questions. Then I thought I will come and talk about it. Okay, Kyle.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And yeah, Dr. Rao is amazing, and I can't wait to discuss ontology with you sometime soon. And not in a way that I'm attached to any particular ontology that it leads me
No,
to live and do.
no, I know.
I just think that it's important to discuss.
No, I know. I know. It's kind of probe into it, understand it, and put it aside. That is, yeah, it's a big topic, ontology, no doubt about it. But it is important to understand the implications as far as this process of realization is concerned. Yeah, sure. We'll do
Thank you for sharing your wisdom tonight with us. We really appreciate it. And are you where are you located?
that. I'm in Iowa, United States.
Oh, okay. United India.
Yeah.
I'm in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Thank you.
Okay. I came from India in 1981. As ever since I'm here. But the thing is, I studied most of the ancient wisdom or explored it while I'm here. I didn't get the chance in India. I was in the medical school all the time, and I was trained in the Western way, like right. But then after I came here, they presented what is the ending of thought. That didn't make any sense to me because we were told think deeply, think properly, and all that, right? But then what I went through the modern physician journey is I think very relevant to other people. I also did the informatics where my thesis was on information overload. And then I went and examined all the problems the IT people or information workers are having. So I kind of use this combination of modern medicine plus ancient wisdom. The only problem with modern medicine for me is the chronic diseases. So many people are chronically diseased or they don't have any life after they go into nursing homes, almost like a vegetables. They live there with the medications and all that. So I found yoga can really help the curtail of the chronic diseases or allow them to really. This series also is for that. Why don't we respond early? Why don't we be intelligent, self-health conscious, and fix things before they become problems? That's the main theme of the 5 days. That's what I'm going to discuss. And I believe if you eat well, if you exercise well, and if you really sleep well and keep your mind quiet, then you'll be able to maintain good health and wellness. That's what I wanted to bring it. By the way, I'm coming with a book too. The book is titled as Modern Challenges, Ancient Solutions. None of them will be like a give you herbs and all that. It's about consciousness, is about understanding the breakthroughs that they had. And I think that's very important to understand as modern people because that knowledge is there. It's not like anybody's knowledge, it's the knowledge of the human beings. We should distribute to everybody too. That's why I kind of. By the way, I didn't study only India. I studied China, Egypt, Japan, America, Native Indians, so like Africa, and then Sufis in Middle East. So all of them say the same thing. By the way,
Yes, it's universal consciousness
yeah,
and universal truth. And it's just really beautiful that there's different approaches to the same solution. So we
yeah,
just all walking each other home,
exactly,
which is a
exactly.
favorite quote from Ramdas.
Exactly. That's why I call myself world citizen, a citizen of the earth, and I also call myself a tribe of human beings. So every other division is like kind of artificial, unnecessary, giving us a lot of grief. That's what I see. So, I have, I'm a very strong follower of J. Krishnamurti, and I think yeah, many of your thoughts resonate with that, especially regarding division and boundaries. Yeah, which create conflict. Yeah. Krishnamurti doesn't want any followers. He wants you to explore with him. Start doing that and you will learn a lot. I also 1985 was exposed to Krishnamurti. I never knew him in India. See, can you imagine that? He was in Madanpalli, my own state, Telugu speaking state. I'm in Guntur and he's in Madanpalli. But I never knew about him until I came here in 1981. I came at the end of it. 85, one of my friends took me to this talk. He was giving, not in person, but it was a recorded talk on the which was we are playing it. So he took me there. I was struck by what he was to say, and all my understandings of really questioned. And then he really told us what is the limitation of the religions as they evolve now. The people who discovered them, they might have discovered the truth, but then we kind of made a system, and then we kind of made it a tool to divide people. So from then onwards, I don't call myself any particular religion, but all religions have the same message. That's it. All right.
Yeah, and that's why we
Yeah.
really get along very well
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl. Get in touch with me if you want to
Sorry,
talk.
I interrupted Ken though.
Yeah. If you want to talk to me, you just get in touch with me. We'll make some time and we'll talk about things. Okay, I'll be happy to. Okay, I will take leave now. Thank you very much. I'll see you again.